Today, I am going to talk about 3 snags that can come up when you are doing EMDR self-administered. And actually, they're the same 3 snags that can come up if you're doing EMDR with a therapist. So I'm going to share with you the tools and techniques that therapists use to get through these snags. So given that I have this YouTube channel and I have quite a few videos on EMDR, I have been getting the question a lot. Can I do EMDR on myself? And I do have a video that goes through self-administered EMDR and whether it's a good idea for you given your situation. And I will link that here. I do recommend it. And then I also would like to say, for those of you who don't know me, I'd like to give you an idea of my qualifications. Why am I qualified to talk about this? Well, I am an EMDR approved consultant, which means that not only have I been trained and certified in EMDR, but I have also done additional training and had additional experience to become an approved consultant so I can supervise other EMDR therapists who are both learning EMDR as well as people who've been practicing it for quite a while. And then just before I jump into the meat of the topic here, I would just like to say that I created this channel to help bring information about EMDR, cognitive behavioral therapy, meditation, some Buddhist philosophy. I weave it all together, all these tools and techniques to help people live more joyful lives. So if you do support what I'm doing here, please do subscribe to the channel. It helps a lot. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up at the end. So let's get into it. 3 snags that you can hit in EMDR. And these snags are flooding, avoidance, and looping. So stay tuned to the end because I do think it's important to know about all 3 of these things that can impede your EMDR processing and make the process either way more difficult or not effective at all. So flooding is a term that we use when a client becomes overwhelmed with emotion and generally overwhelmed with a physiological response that goes with that emotion, almost to the point that they can't tolerate it. So emotional distress gets so high that they are flooded. You can also use the term flooded in terms of being flooded with images, flooded with memories, and that will often lead to the emotional flooding. So if you are working in EMDR, whether you're working with a therapist or you are working on your own, it's important to be aware of flooding because we process best when we stay within a zone of tolerance. So our moods can go like this, and that would be within a zone of tolerance, a little bit of up and down. But when we flood, we go way too high or way too low. So if you go into that kind of physiological state, that would be termed flooding, and there probably would be a few steps that would be helpful for you to pause and do, and then go back into the EMDR more slowly or over time or in shorter bursts. So I'm going to actually share the antidotes to flooding after I talk about avoidance, which was the second snag I wanted to talk to you, because the antidotes are actually the same. So if you think about it, avoidance is almost the opposite of flooding, right? Flooding is when all the images come in, you're just flooded with the emotions. Avoidance is like, yeah, no, I don't want to deal with that. And avoidance is often tied to a state of feeling numb. So when we feel numb, it's generally because we are so anxious that we have turned the corner into numbness. And numbness comes, we actually generate our own internal opiates and they can totally numb us out. And we will go to that state when we are in a freeze mode. So you have fight, flight, freeze. So when we are so anxious, we are in total survival mode and we freeze, we will then feel numb. So avoiding something doesn't always mean you've completely gone to that numb state, but it is so scary to you, so difficult to deal with. You are like, yeah, no, I'm going to avoid that. So one reason I put flooding and avoidance kind of together, even though they're opposite ends of the seesaw, is that they are both a state of very high physiological arousal, but with the avoidance, it's gone so far, it's like gone over the cliff and you're pulled back. So Hopefully that makes sense to you. Comment below. Let me know if the connection between flooding and avoidance makes sense to you. And let's talk about some tools to deal with this. So with physiological flooding or a feeling of numbness, I would recommend pausing, stepping back from the EMDR processing, and resetting your physiology. So one way to do that is with diaphragmatic breathing. Another way to do that is with the safe place exercise. And if you are doing self-administered EMDR, my recommendation is to be able to access a safe place that will then help you reset. Calm yourself. Get back into your zone of tolerance prior to going back into the EMDR processing. And then another technique that I recommend is called the movie technique. And I do have a video on the EMDR movie technique, and I work with this in my coaching programs as well. It's a very, very powerful technique for gaining some perspective and some distance from the memory so that it doesn't overwhelm you and you also won't avoid it, because it's a sort of a safer, slightly more detached way to begin to process the memory. So to recap, for the two snags of flooding and avoidance, the tools and techniques I would recommend are diaphragmatic breathing, the safe place exercise, other tools and techniques to physiologically reset, and the movie technique. Now let's talk about the third snag. And the third snag might be the most challenging to get through on your own. And the third snag is looping. And what looping means is that while somebody is processing, their thoughts are staying in the same loop. They're not moving. They're not moving through it. So clients can get stuck during the EMDR processing phase in a loop and go around and around, or they might have kind of like they do a set of bilateral movements and they get to a new place and they get to another place and then a third place, but then they're back at the beginning. And they may go through kind of like 3 different thought processes about the memory or situation that they are processing, but basically they are stuck in a loop. And this is where a therapist can be super, super helpful. So the tool and technique that a therapist will use to get you through looping is something we call cognitive interweaves. And cognitive interweaves are a different frame to see the situation through. So cognitive interweaves can be difficult to do for yourself. I would think that one way to do it would be to journal. One way to do it would be to say, how would someone else see this event? Or how would I see this event if it were happening to somebody else? Which is a little bit of the movie technique that I linked earlier. But those might be ways that you can kind of figure out how to shift the lens through which you're seeing the situation. And another way to get through looping might be to extend the situation out into a story. Sometimes people will loop, particularly with really bad feelings about themselves. They'll get stuck in a feeling of, I'm disgusting. Well, I'm just disgusting. Well, go through a process and then come back on real deep-seated shame feelings. Or the looping might be around just sort of seeing the same images, like seeing the same flashes of a traumatic event and not kind of moving through it. So for that situation, being able to turn it more into a storyline, coming up with a beginning, a middle, and an end, and working with that as a story to process through. So it could even be something like the situation had a beginning, it had a middle, and it had an end, and it's over. It had a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it's over. And so to work with that in your processing. So these are difficult snags. Even if you're working with a therapist, that therapist will be working diligently with you to help get you through these snags. So doing it on your own is challenging, not impossible. And I do have 2 resources I would like to share with you that might help you as you're working through this. One of them is a PDF called Transform Your Negative Core Belief. And it does help you drill into what is really your negative core belief. And that's a key part of the EMDR process, is identifying that negative core belief And another key part of the EMDR process is identifying what the positive core belief is that counters that. Because what you want to do with the processing portion of the EMDR is you want to move from kind of a deep-seated belief in this negative core belief, and you want to move towards that positive core belief. So this PDF helps you identify those and then also walks you through 3 tools that you can practice regularly to strengthen the positive core belief. So the link is below and you can download that PDF for free. And then the other resource I would like to share with you is a company. I've become an affiliate of them because I support what they do, and they are called Virtual EMDR. And they provide a online system that helps to walk you through the EMDR questions. It keeps track of where, how sensitized or desensitized you are to the memory. It provides an online light bar with a sound component. And if you would like some additional help, the site also offers coaches who can help make sure that you are identifying the correct negative core belief, that you have an adaptive positive core belief, and that you are targeting memories that will help you make progress the quickest. So I'm including the link below. And as I mentioned, I'm an affiliate. So there's a chance that if you purchase through the site, I will receive a commission, which does help to support this channel. I have tried this service and I do support it as an interim between completely doing it on your own and working in an intense way with a one-to-one therapist. So check it out. I'm hoping that this video is helpful for you on the road to healing. So if you support my channel, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. Really helps, improves the analytics, more people see the material, which I'm hoping will be good for all of us. So till the next time.